living in fundamentals every day. That's what life is about. And recently, I was changing Judah's diaper. And as I was changing his diaper, as often is the case with a 10-month-old, some Cheerios, specifically one Cheerio, fell out of his diaper. And it was just one of those times, one of those days where the Cheerio fell out of his diaper, rolled under the changing table, and I was like, man, I'm not getting that. As I pick up my son off the changing table to walk out of the room, I feel like the Holy Spirit says, pick up this Cheerio. And I'm like, this cannot be God, because why in the world would God tell me to pick up a Cheerio? Particularly a Cheerio out of a diaper that's rolled under the changing table. So, I try as easily as I can to grab it, without having to move the changing table because it's kind of sizable. And couldn't. And so I had to move the changing table. I felt like moving heaven and earth to just get this little Cheerio that fell out of my son's diaper. And I picked up that Cheerio and I was like, what in the world is this about? And I felt like God said, for you it wasn't worth it. But for me it was worth it to send my son to die for your sin and to claim you. And so it hit me like a ton of bricks in that moment that God moved heaven and earth quite literally in order to give us his son, even though we to him, the stench of our sin is like a Cheerio out of a diaper. And with a 10-month-old, it's a like milky, nasty, stale Cheerio. And our sin is the same way to the Lord, but he did not just go about the easiest route to grab the Cheerio. Instead, he sent his only son and died for our sin. His son died for our sin so that we could be claimed by him, so that we could be his sons and his daughters. And I don't know if you've ever felt like you're not really worth it. I don't know if you ever felt like that Cheerio, but I'm here to tell you that me, as an adult who didn't necessarily think the Cheerio was worth it, I took time to get that Cheerio, and I want to remind you that God takes way more time for us. He cares way more about us than I cared about that Cheerio. And he sent his son to die for you and for me, to give us relationship with him so that we could enjoy him and he could enjoy us. I've felt like that Cheerio in times past, and sometimes as a Christian today, I still feel like that Cheerio. But the thing that reminds me of who God is the fact that instead of throwing that Cheerio in the trash, I put that Cheerio in my pocket. Now, if I were to be honest with you, I don't know where that Cheerio is today, but what convicts me is God does. And he reminds me that he will never leave me, he will never forsake me, according to Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5, like I forsook that Cheerio. But he loves me, and he will keep me, and he will do the same for you if you give your heart to him. So, anytime you have an opportunity to see Cheerios again, I hope that this story calls to mind the amazing love that God has for you and for me.